Gen Xers are in financial trouble. For many of us, by the time we realize the trouble that we're in, we will not have time to change course. The oldest Gen Xers are beginning to turn 60, and that means many big retirement decisions are right around the corner. Being a member of Gen X myself, I wanted to take a look at where we stand financially as a generation, why this happened, but most importantly, what we can do to overcome the challenge. Even the oldest Gen Xers still have time, but we need to get serious, so let's dive in. Generation X, or Gen X, is the 65 million people born between the mid-1960s and the early 1980s. We're right after the 69 million baby boomers and before the 72 million millennials. We're often called the sandwich generation because of how many Gen Xers are simultaneously caring for aging parents and children at the same time. More on that in a little bit. The oldest Gen Xers are turning 60, and most of us are entering our highest earning years in the middle of our working careers. What's mind-blowing is that we are on track to be the first generation to be worse off financially than our parents. A recent study from Prudential highlights that roughly 1/3 of Gen Xers report saving less than $10,000 for retirement, and over half plan to rely mostly on Social Security. Unfortunately, that's not going to cut it. The average Social Security check as of January 2025 is just $1,976 per month, which comes out to a little over $23,000 per year. But the Bureau of Labor Statistics reports that the average living expenses for Americans 65 and older are nearly $60,000 per year. Here's a breakdown of how that money is spent. The majority of spending is on housing, transportation, food, and healthcare. That leaves a massive gap, about $37,000 per year, that needs to be covered by personal savings. So how much does a Gen Xer need to have saved to fill the gap? Well, let's say you decided to withdraw 5% of your savings each year and adjust that by inflation in retirement. This is slightly higher than the widely cited 4% rule, but I think it's more realistic for the average retiree. The math says Gen Xers need roughly $740,000 after tax saved in a balanced portfolio. So where do we stand? To understand the challenges of Gen X, we need to take a little journey back in time. Older Americans born between 1925 and 1964 generally had access to something called a defined benefit plan or pension plan. At that time, companies believed it was their responsibility to take care of their employees in retirement. So companies set aside money each year and invested it for their employees to pay out to them in retirement. Big U.S. companies like Bethlehem Steel, General Motors, Eastman Kodak, and General Electric offered a generous pension plan and lifetime health benefits in exchange for employee loyalty. But this mindset is completely different than that of today. One of those reasons is because in the 1970s, these big companies began to realize it was extremely expensive to take care of their employees in this manner. In fact, those companies I mentioned each had significant financial impairments because of these pension and health benefits. Companies realized they just couldn't financially afford to offer this level of benefit anymore. They decided to shift the responsibility of retirement saving onto their employees with the advent of the 401k in 1978. The first 401ks were implemented in 1981 as an incredible way to save for retirement. And Gen Xers became the first generation almost entirely reliant on their own savings for retirement. By the year 2000, when I started my career as a financial advisor, 3/4 of all company retirement plans were 401k plans, and almost all new employees were not given access to the old pension plans. But Gen Xers didn't have much data to go on yet to tell them whether saving and investing in 401k plans was a good idea. Unfortunately, because many of our parents had pensions, they might not have been much help to early Gen Xers, encouraging them to save because they didn't have to. So what happened? Well, unsurprisingly, it took a long time for Gen Xers to really accept that they were on their own to save for their own retirement. Many Gen Xers opted out of those self-funding 401k plans and have only recently been making up for it. I found this recent study called The Forgotten Generation, published by the National Institute of Retirement Security. It's a report on the financials of Gen X. So let's have a look at the key parts of the study. Only half of Gen Xers are participating in a 401k or similar defined contribution plan. Many Gen Xers work for companies that still don't offer a 401k plan or have decided not to participate. And only 14% have access to a pension, meaning most Gen Xers are on their own when it comes to retirement savings. There is a large difference between average savings accounts and median savings accounts. Generally, I think using the median number is much better than using the average number. The median means exactly half of people are above the number and half are below. The average can be highly skewed. For example, if one person has a $1.3 million 401k and another 9 people have zero in theirs, then the average is $130,000 for those 10 people. I think the average can misrepresent what is actually happening. The average Gen X household has roughly $243,000 saved for retirement. That doesn't sound horrible because it's skewed. The top quartile has much more saved than the bottom 3/4. In fact, the median amount saved is only $40,000. It's even more interesting that self-employed individuals have roughly the same average savings account, but the median is only $17,000. That means that half of all self-employed people have less than $17,000 saved for retirement. And the median government worker has saved about 20% more than the average private sector employee. Check out this chart that breaks down savings into quartiles. You can see here that the top 25% are on their way to reaching the $740,000 needed for an average retirement, but the bottom 50% are nowhere to be found. There are several reasons I think Gen X is struggling financially. First is the boom-bust impact. Many Gen Xers have now lived through the dot-com bust, 9/11, the pandemic, and the 2008 financial crisis. As a result, they saw job losses, wage stagnation, and investment declines that set them back significantly. You can see that the oldest Gen Xers experienced the steepest drop in net worth during the financial crisis, as both their investments and their home values took significant hits. There are many Gen Xers who lost faith in the ability for the stock market to build wealth for them because of those repeated boom-bust cycles early in their careers. Next, we have skyrocketing housing costs. Home ownership has traditionally been a major wealth-building tool, but younger Gen Xers struggle to buy a home due to rising prices and debt burdens. You'll notice a significant difference in home ownership rates for different ages of Gen Xers. In fact, only 26% of Gen Xers aged 40 to 45 own a home. And then you get to student loan debt. Around 1 in 6 Gen Xers still have student loans. Many are also helping their kids pay for college, which strains their finances even more. And then, of course, we're the sandwich generation, and we're struggling with it. Many Gen Xers are financially supporting both aging parents and their own children, making it even harder to prioritize retirement savings. So what can Gen X do now? Well, if you're a Gen Xer feeling behind, you still have time to catch up. Here's what you can do. Get clear on where you currently stand and know your numbers. Knowing how much you have coming in each month and how much is going out is very important. Using apps like Rocket Money can help you track your income and expenses. You might be able to reduce or cut completely some expenses that will allow you to save more. Think about implementing the 50-30-20 rule, where 50% of your income goes to your needs like housing, transportation, healthcare, and food. 30% of it goes to wants, and 20% to savings. Of course, all of these numbers are after you paid your taxes. If you can live on 80% of your after-tax income, you're setting yourself up for success. Next, look to increase your savings rate. If you're able to cut some expenses, sooner rather than later, work to increase your savings rate. And every time you get a raise, allocate at least half of the raise to your savings. Same thing if you get a bonus. Set aside at least half of it. And then maximize 401k and IRA contributions. If your employer offers a 401k match, make sure you're taking advantage of it. It's free money, but so many employees still don't participate. If the company you work for doesn't have a retirement plan or you're self-employed, consider contributing to a Roth IRA, a traditional IRA, or setting up a solo 401k if you own a business. Get the tax breaks and make sure the money gets invested. Don't just leave it in cash. Let the power of compounding work for you. And then reevaluate your investment strategy. Make sure your portfolio is properly diversified. If you're too conservative, your money might not grow enough to last through retirement. And take advantage of the HSA or the Health Savings Account. It offers triple tax-free benefits. You get a tax deduction for saving into them. The money can grow without taxes if you invest it, and it can come out without taxes in retirement if you use it for health-related expenses. And trust me, you will have a lot of them. Next up, minimize car payments. Cars are often affordable luxuries, but often transportation costs keep you poor. I can't tell you how many people that I see who say they can't save anymore, yet they're driving around four-figure car payments. You know what's more impressive than a nice ride? A flush retirement account. You want to know how much your ride is actually costing you? Check out this video I created on the real costs of car ownership. Lastly, invest in help. Get educated on personal finance. Start off by subscribing to the #1 personal finance channel on YouTube. This one, See the Forest Through the Trees. Just hit that little subscribe button and then check out all of my videos on topics from Social Security to building a 100% tax-free retirement income. Here's the good news. Even if you're the oldest of Gen Xers, there's still time. It's never too late to start making smarter financial decisions. And if you're behind, don't panic. Just take action. Even small changes today can have a big impact over the next 10 to 20 years. If you're in Gen X and you own a business and are looking for customized financial planning, head over to celestialwm.com and click the Start Here button. I'd love to chat with you to get clear on where you stand and be clear on where you want to go. And if you found this video helpful, be sure to check out this one next to supercharge your financial life.